Hello and welcome back to Football 301. I'm your host, Nate Tice. It's week 3, so let's preview it. Today on Football 301, we're going to get lost in the sauce with 3 of our favorite games. We're also going to do a little panning for prospects at the end of the show. Some rookies we're going to talk about, but also Charles, my co-host, wants to talk about a certain somebody down in South Beach. Spoilers. But I already spoiled his name already.
Yeah.
Joining me.
Fingers at people.
Joining me every Thursday and Sunday night for the recap shows, my guy, Mr. Forverts, Charles McDonald. How you doing today, Chuck?
I'm doing good. The only thing bothering me today is we just can't seem to get to fall weather in New York City. It's been like 80-90% humidity for every day for the past 2 weeks, and I'm dying. But other than that, I feel pretty good. I'm ready for week 3.
What is it right now? It's 80 here in Vegas.
It's actually, it's nice. 80. It's 82 here in New York with 90% humidity. Ooh. And it just rained 2 days ago. Like usually it'll cut down for a little bit, but we've been fighting for our lives out here.
Move to the desert. Y'all laugh at me. And then here I am in the desert, and it's sitting pretty in 80-degree cloudy. I actually go to the park a couple times today with my kids, so I'm actually looking forward to it. Along with an iffy Thursday night battle we'll watch tonight, but I'm sure all of us will be on the timeline anyways. But before we get into our preview series, our Lost in the Sauce trio of games, check us out on the Yahoo Sports Network, our brand new streaming TV channel. The Yahoo Sports Network is available to stream on leading fast services. It's also streaming live 24/7 on yahoosports.tv. You can catch all of the shows on your phone or on your browser. All right, let's do it. It's time to get lost in the sauce. This is where we take a deep dive on 3 of our favorite games of the week, and we also nominate a little Haas fight. We have a few nominees for a Haas fight this week, but I just picked one without telling you, so there's a little surprise there for you, Charles. I thought so. I made an executive decision on that one. Pretty good games, though. Yeah, we're going to start with one that they had a couple matchups last year, and 2 teams that are 2-0, which should be a very fun game in the NFC. We got the Rams going to Philly to play the Eagles Sunday, a Sunday early game, actually, which I'm very, very excited about. They're not just clearing the table for this. There's actually a lot of good games this week, which we'll talk about. But this one, they faced a couple times last year. Of course, in the playoffs, the Eagles beat them on their way to win the Super Bowl. A very close game that I think some people forget about. Came down to the final drive, and then Jalen Carter goes, "Oh yeah, I'm Jalen Carter," and was doing fake twists to get the center and to get the Rams sliding the wrong way, and really just ended the game. He was the closer in that game. But also in that game, Jalen Hurts got sacked 7 times by the Rams' tenacious pass front. This should be a very, very fun battle, Charles. So we're going to start when the Rams have the ball playing this Eagles defense. Sean McVay, Vic Fangio, 2 of the best play callers in the league going at Matthew Stafford versus an Eagles defense that was the top in the league last year. And they're good this year, but a lot of new faces on that side of the ball. But when you're watching these 2 sides go at it, Charles, what are you focusing on? A lot of good stuff here.
I want to see if the Rams can have some success running the ball, because I think that's really weirdly an area where they've been I think a little bit, for me, a little bit more explosive than expected. They're second in the league in EPA per rush. They're 18th in success rate, but still, the fact that they can kind of rip off some of the explosives, and it kind of pairs with them having the second highest explosive play rate in the league. So I want to see if they can run the ball, because I still am fearful for Stafford in this back situation. And I think the last thing you want to do is end up in some of these 3rd and long situations where Jalen Carter can kind of tee off. And I think the Rams so far have done a pretty good job of preventing that. I mean, they haven't had the toughest schedule of offenses to play against, but on defense, facing against the other team's defense, they played Tennessee, who has some really strong players up front, and they played Houston week 1, who we know has one of the best defenses in the league. And through that, they're still second in the league in average distance on 3rd down to 1st down at 5.6 yards. I think that's the formula for them to kind of stay afloat and protect Stafford as best they can throughout the season. And it's going to come with running the ball against, like you said, one of the best defensive tackles that I've seen in the NFL. So hopefully he doesn't spit on anyone this week, so the Eagles have a chance to actually win this game.
I know, right? When the Rams made the Super Bowl run with Stafford, his first year there, that was kind of low key part of their success is I think he had a very low average yards to go on third down as well. So like he can keep firing, and pass rushers can't tee off because you actually have to worry about a lot more stuff on 3rd and 5, 3rd and 6. I mean, you play D line, you get it. Third,
you might get a run
on your pass rush skills, but yeah, 3rd and 5. You're like, okay.
Pass rush is what I had because I was just trying to get.
Okay, you were okay. Okay, yeah, I know. But 3rd and 4, you're like, okay, they might run it here. They might run a screen. They could do a lot of things. But 3rd and 9, all right, ears pinned back. Let's go. I mean, we talk about it all the time. That's why we bring up that stat all the time. No, that's great about the Rams are explosive right now. Watching those games back, other than Stafford had a pick before halftime. Other than that, they controlled that whole game. It felt like on offense, and kind of one of these things. And I was talking to our friend Keegan Abdu from Next Gen Stat about this. So I have got some fun stuff in the passing game here because when the Davante Adams signed with the Rams, it's kind of like, okay, I see exactly why you guys are doing this. Because a reminder, brought up the stat like 20 times in the offseason, but just a reminder, Rams, Stafford, not very good against man coverage last year. They were he was 25th in success rate against man coverage. Zone, shredded it. Top 5 quarterback against zone. Every stat you look at, 2nd, I believe, in success rate against zone. Puka Nacua, amazing against zone, but against teams that could play a little bit of man, they would take Nacua out and go, all right, Tutu Atwell, what you got for us? Like what? Okay, Cooper Kupp, who's essentially a tight end at this point in his career, what do you got for us down the field? And it was just not a lot of success. Enter Davante Adams, who was top 5 last year against man in successful targets per route. Okay. So far this year against man coverage, and I cannot wait to share this stat, he has a 47.4% target share against man coverage. That means when they get man, half the time the ball is going to Davante Adams. 5 receptions, 5 first downs, 4.6 yards per route run. Those 5 receptions went for 19, 26, 16, 3, and 24. So it's not even just like a little 6-yarder first downs, chunks. And just torching them. The Titans, there's a couple really nice ones. One of them, the touchdown, was against man coverage. Nacua still gets some of his against man, 35% target share. So those guys are getting the ball. You got Quinion Mitchell for the Eagles, Cooper DeJean in the slot, and then insert name here at other corner. So could be a little mismatch if they want to go man against zone. Nacua still very good against zone, 44% target share, 8 first downs on 13 receptions, almost 5 yards per route run. So you kind of see that man zone split. Fangio, very zone heavy, but against the Rams last year, man heavy, which I think is really interesting. 23% zone coverages against all other teams. 2 games against the Rams, 38%, including 44% in the playoff game. So this is one they gave themselves an answer, and I think that game was in their mind. Like, oh shoot, they want man against us, and we had no answers. And that usually that sour taste kind of is like always what you kind of go in. You could kind of see what teams are like. All right, how do we beat this? All right, the Chiefs, we got to get a left tackle. Like every team is like figuring out their ways. This is a really, really fun kind of cruiserweight match as opposed to the heavyweight Haas fight. So really looking forward to that. And I think so. It's nice when a stat matches exactly what your narrative is, though. So that's why I wanted to share it.
Yes. See, I was just thinking, man, you guys take a moment to like appreciate Davante Adams and him still being this good. Like so good. This is what, year 12 for him in the NFL. Yeah. He's about to he's 33 catches away from 1,000 career catches. He's going to pass 13,000 career yards this year. I mean, I think we're kind of seeing an all-time player who's still playing pretty well at 32 years old. So I found myself like the past couple of weeks like, damn, like this is pretty cool that he can still kind of get up there and play like that.
Yeah, and he's trying to block. He's doing all this stuff. I mean, he's awesome, man. He's such a smart player. Like him and Stafford already have like a mind meld on some stuff. Like he ran a dig against the Titans, and he stopped it. And then Stafford, it was like an inside dagger concept, which is a seam vertical and then a dig. And he stopped it against cover 2 because that was a soft spot, like right out of his break. So almost turned into like a curl. What was so cool is that usually this where miscommunications happen. Stafford had already thrown the ball knowing he would stop there. So it was like a little snap. It was a little like in front. So he kind of like midpointed it. But I was like, oh, that's right. You guys have a lot of football that you guys have played and you can still do it. Like, yeah, like. It's pretty cool to watch those two at it. And then there's Puka Nacua taking like 50-yard jet sweeps to the house as well. So no, this is going to be a fun matchup, I think. And I'm sure Fangio will have a new twist, but I think McVay's got some interesting new answers this year. The other side of the ball, Eagles offense, Rams defense. Okay. Rams got a pretty tenacious pass rush going against a good Eagles O-line. Eagles trying to find their way on offense under a new offensive coordinator. What are your thoughts on the Eagles right now? I know we kind of laid into it a little bit Sunday night when we when our 2-minute segment turned into 20. Yeah, we just kind of kept pulling apart that game and we were like disappointed. We're like, this is the Super Bowl rematch, and you guys just made us go through that slog, like that schlock that we just had to watch. So, no, but what's your opinion on this offense right now?
Well, I don't know what to say because. It's
more of the same.
Yeah, they look. The passing game looks bad right now. Just not good. I mean, even week 1 against Dallas, where they also won, and Hurts was 19 for 23. Like they're so. I'm trying to find the word to say. They're just operating like so close to the line of scrimmage in the passing game, which is not. That's not where you want to be when you have A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith. I mean, those are guys who can, win down the field and make explosive plays down the field, like in different ways. But that's like kind of where they can be at their most lethal to defense. So it just kind of feels like they're not getting a whole lot out of the passing game. Whether that's, the quarterback, I don't know, Hurts. Like they had this stretch last year where they weren't throwing the ball well, and someone asked A.J. Brown, what's the problem? And he said the passing. I don't know if it's that. I don't know if it's a new OC that's, they're trying to figure stuff out. But we've talked about this before. It's not like the new OC is running anything different really than Kellen Moore or the guy who's before him. I forget his name.
Brian Johnson.
It all kind of Brian Johnson, right? Yeah, Shane Steichen. Mm-hmm. It all kind of looks the same, which is mainly I think a Hurts deal, but there's got to be some way to squeeze more production out of this passing game. They're 19th in success rate. 18th in success rate on dropbacks. They're 30th in explosive play rate. It's not clicking right now. It's just weird to see an offense with this much talent and this much money spent on it not be able to throw the ball consistently.
Yeah. And usually when it's like, oh, look at these skill guys, what's happening? Oh, well, the offensive line's hurt or the offensive line's bad. Keep an eye on the Bucs, by the way. Holy crap. Yeah. They're dropping like flies in Tampa Bay. So keep an eye on that, by the way. All right. How do you get it? Like this game, the Eagles are always going to have a good run game. And I think off the top of my head, I believe they're second in rushing success rate right now on design runs. So it's like, okay, set it and forget it. You got Jeff Stoutland, you got this O-line, even with Landon Dickerson kind of very injured and a new right guard, you just keep on churning. Saquon Barkley, still Saquon Barkley. All right, the kind of like the vibes of this offense all come not just with the passing game and the completions and all that, like big chunk plays. You need space. You need to create space. It's an offense that is relying on nothing but layups and dunks. Like it's a basketball team that can't shoot. That's what I'm watching right now. And only 2 explosive passes, and you could. I think anyone's watching Eagle games can know which 2 they are. I don't even have to it's a Jahan Dotson deep ball and a Devontae Smith dunk against the Chiefs. All right, so what's the other way you create explosives? If you're going to attack underneath, yak, yards after catch. They're 31st, second worst in yak per completion right now, 3.4 yards. And it's not for a lack of trying. I mean, there's so many under routes. A.J. Brown's getting tackled pretty easily right now. So they're not just getting those catch and run opportunities. And Hurts isn't going to throw over the middle. Like we all know that. We only can say it so much. And like he just won a Super Bowl and Super Bowl MVP. So, all right. So it's up to the offensive coordinator to find ideas. And right now I'm a little discouraged. Not a lot of tempo, which I think Hurts and the Eagles operated really well under Shane Steichen. That was kind of their thing. They could go tempo and throw go balls and they just knock you out of the park out of nowhere. They have heavy run heavy run pass splits tendencies already. When they're in the shotgun, they're going to they're going to throw the ball. When they're under center, they're going to run the ball. Like they have an 80, almost a 90% run rate when they're under center on first and second down. They're 30th in play action rate. And then shotgun, like it's like a 50-50 run pass split, but it's just, and no play. And when they do play action, I was kind of looking at this is that I watched our Rams defense, especially against the Titans, quite susceptible to bootlegs. Like they really take the cheese. Byron Young, who has leveled up, it takes the cheese a little bit. And then Josiah Stewart is a rookie, is really flashy, by the way. I wanted to give him a shout.
He's flashed. Flash.
They got more juice up front, which is crazy. Not less size, but a lot of juice, versus strong. So I was like, all right, Eagles bootlegs. All right, maybe this is the thread I can pull. Maybe they get him on the move a little bit, make it easier, get some chunks. Jalen Hurts lasted over the last 3 years in bootlegs pass attempts.
I don't get how.
He's technically third from the bottom, but it's Jordan Love and Joe Burrow are below him. Both guys that have gotten hurt in the last 3 years. Only 44 bootleg dropbacks in 3 years. He's below average success rate wise and high scramble rate, of course. But he's fine when he does it. It's over 50%, but still below average. Usually it's like almost 60 because it's such a safe play. So he right now this year on bootlegs, 6 dropbacks, 4 for 5, 14 yards, 2.8 yards per attempt on bootlegs, and a scramble for a first down. So it was like, all right, so I'm just trying to help the Eagles, or at least help my mind figure out what they can actually do rather than just keep saying this stuff. And to me, it's like, you got to coax some deep balls out of there. Like you have to manufacture something and get this offense to trust it. So it's kind of interesting that they're 2-0. They just like to do this stuff, win games, and be so frustrating at the same time.
Yeah. Look, he's got a Super Bowl. I don't know. I'm just trying to stay safe over
right?
here. I know, because this is not good. This is objectively not good. This is not good stuff. It's not. That we're seeing from the Eagles passing game. And I mean, it's trends that have continued basically every year that he's been the quarterback where they have ruts like this. But this appears to be maybe the most discombobulated thing. Because I'm also with you on the AJ Brown stuff. He looks like he's lost a little bit of his step. I'm not sure if he's like just playing his way into shape or what have you, but it doesn't look quite as explosive as last year. I actually think that this is a really cool test for both units, because you look at some of these Rams numbers on defense. I think you remember they played the Titans and the Texans to start the season, so you got that Texans offensive line, and then rookie Cam Ward, who I think Cam Ward looks good, but we saw him play Miami. It's not surprising that he's taken a bunch of sacks so far early as a rookie. So when you see 11.8% sack rate, they're number one by a mile, like every EPA stat, 1.4 points per drive. I think a little context needs to be thrown in with that, and this is going to be like a kind of a good litmus test for both teams, because the Eagles offense hasn't been great. Rams defense hasn't really been tested probably in a way that would suggest these numbers that they display so far. So it'll be cool to see how this one turns out.
Yeah, Emmanuel Forbes versus AJ Brown. It's the 1 versus 0 battle.
I was stunned when I saw him I was stunned when I saw he was still in the NFL.
He's actually okay. He's doing okay, actually. But that's the test. The Rams defense is 2 seconds or less. They try to get home in 2 seconds. Otherwise they test their coverages. But they're playing well, like you said. But it's just that's a great way to put it. It's just a nice test for both of these units. And the other side's more of like a strength on strength battle, which would be cool. Strength on strength, Eagles defense or the Eagles offense. Go figure. All right. The Eagles are 3.5 point favorites, so about a point over. What's your final prediction for this game?
I think the Rams win. I just said it's a big test for the young defense, but I actually think they have a chance in this one. If they can survive the size mismatch up front with the Eagles offensive line, it's tough, man. I mean, you got those heavy guys coming at you with Saquon Barkley right behind. If they can stand up to that, I think they have a pretty big day rushing the passer and getting after Hurts. But that's a big if. But I still think they win because I like how Stafford and the offense play too.
Yeah, I think this game is more important to the Rams in a way than the Eagles, if that makes sense. Like the Rams lost to this team, and so I think it's been on their mind. Like, oh, we could have got them. We were live. We could have made a run too. So I think they maybe have this game circled. That's just more of a narrative outside context thing. But I'm going to go with the Rams too. I think they win outright. But I think this is going to be there's going to be a lot of big plays in this game. As I think there's opportunities for that. But it's kind of like it's a good test for every unit in this matchup. So I think it's going to be a lot of fun. All right, we're going to take our first break and we'll come back with the Haas fight of the week. We are back, and this is the Haas fight of the week. It felt apt this week. There's a lot of potential for Haas fights. I guess Eagles O-line versus Rams D-line was a good one, but Broncos at Chargers. Got that Broncos O-line versus that stout Chargers defense. Khalil Mack is out, but still, we got some house fight potential of this game because I think both teams are going to be really, really tested against each other, especially on this side of the ball. We'll start with when the Broncos have the ball. Chargers defense, Sean Payton, Jesse Minter, fun little scheme battle between these two. Also, you got kind of a, like we just keep talking about, kind of like a gut check, I think, for both units. The Broncos offense kind of been, especially passing game, just can't get over the hump, can't really have that nice performance maybe. And on the other side, you got a Chargers defense that's looked great, I think, going against the Chiefs. And then the Raiders actually picked up 2 division wins, which is huge. But now going against the Broncos. So kind of without Khalil Mack, what you checking out on this side of the ball? What you watching? How do you think the Broncos can maybe manufacture some points against a very, very well scouted and well coached defense?
I guess I've kind of, I don't really know like kind of where I'm ending up on this game because I went back to last year and they had an interesting like 2-game battle last year where like at the start of the season, the Chargers defense, it kind of started like they are now, where they are just absolutely pummeling people, and they got the early season rookie Bo Nix, and they kind of stifled that offense again. But in the back half of the season, when the Bengals and the Ravens and those teams showed up on the Chargers schedule, like their defense numbers plummeted. And then even in the second Broncos game, the Broncos were able to score 27 points, but Justin Herbert, did the thing he's been doing for the past like 20 games and put his team on his back and dragged him over the finish line to win. So I guess I get a little nervous sometimes because I wonder if I still am kind of like trying to decide for myself if the Chargers like actually have the talent yet to like make that leap to like we are battling. We're not just beating up on the bad offense, the inconsistent offense. We're battling against like offenses that can really score and beat up defenses. It's gonna be tough without Khalil Mack. But I do think like some of these guys have taken a step. Like even Day and Henley, he looks more improved than last year,
amazing.
And he was awesome last year. Alohi Gilman's had a nice start to the season. So I do think that their guys are improved, but I still kind of couldn't figure out like for myself, like what's the actual thing that's going to kind of tip things in favor of either team, because I think they match up well in a way that's like, that should be fun and competitive. The Chargers defense has gotten off to a fast start than the Broncos offense. I mean, the Broncos passing game has looked a little iffy. The 22nd EPA per drop back, success rate's kind of low, but still it's hard not to like, I still like the offensive line. Obviously, still trust Sean Payton as a play caller. So again, kind of like the last game with the Eagles and the Rams, I think this is a good litmus test for both teams on where they are. Because I think like up front, this is going to be probably the tough. This is not probably. I think this is going to be the toughest battle that the Chargers have had so far. Because that Broncos line, like they can get moving when things are clicking for them.
No, there's definitely some fist fights going on in the interior. But I just think this is just such a cool kind of schematic battle where it's like neither unit's like perfect. They have their weaknesses, right? But you have Sean Payton designing plays, and then you got Jesse Minter designing plays. But no, with Sean Payton, I think it really comes down to shot plays. Like, because I don't think this offense is very flowy right now when they have to drop back. And I think the run game, they'll get theirs, but it's not going to be overwhelming. Like where, it's more of like that 40% success rate kind of finish. J.K. Dobbins has a couple nice runs, but it's not like, oh my God, they just carry the whole game. Bo Nix only had to pass 12 times, where I think that's more of an even matchup, even if the Broncos O-line is pretty dang good. I just think that it comes down to these designer plays. Like, all right, they cross midfield. Are they going to launch one? Because so far, a couple of the interceptions Bo Nix has had, at least in week 1 against the Titans, they came on the dash pass, which is that kind of extended sprint out that they do. And it's to kind of make half field reads for him. And it's going to be nice protected. Well, 2 of his interceptions came on that, which should be their safe play, which is interesting to me because it's like our defense is getting on top of this. Like I thought the Colts had a lot of stuff where they were kind of finding some indicators and everything. I thought Lou Anarumo really had those guys going last week. But the one thing I do think Bo Nix has a chance here is scrambling, is using his legs. He's a good athlete. He's willing to scramble. Got a lot of match coverages and tight coverage. Well, all right, sometimes when quarterbacks see it tight, I'm going to just use my legs. But also, this has been the one weakness under Minter. It happens with these types of defenses. I think I brought it up last year, was that when you have so many match rules and eyes on what the routes are going to be, they're not looking at the quarterback. And so when you have that, there it is, just opportunities to run wild on them. Stroud even did it a little bit last year in the playoffs. But the Chargers defense, at the start of last year, They're second in yards per game to scrambles allowed, second worst, I should say. 29th in success rate allowed to scrambles, 27th in explosive runs to scrambles allowed, and 27th in total EPA allowed to scrambles. So it's definitely a thing, and that's just a thing that they're susceptible to. But now I think Bo Nix, if like he really wants to churn it, they have to drop back and pass. I think that's going to be a huge, huge thing for them to try and move the ball, because I think the rest is just going to be a stalemate.
Yeah, the Broncos line. I don't know how often people have talked about them this season, but they've had a really good start up front. Like some of the numbers that you look at, like when you filter out like play action plays where it's just like straight dropbacks for the quarterback. This year, when Broncos don't use play action, just drop them back, first in the league in pressure rate, 18% pressure rate, no sacks on 50 dropbacks. Like that's like tough for an offensive line to do consistently, because you're not tricking anybody back there. We know you're going to pass, you're dropping back, and they're still not letting anyone through. And the Chargers, they've been about middle of the pack rushing the passer in those situations. So, and honestly, it's not even like Bo Nix is like just dinking and dunking, getting the ball. Well, he is dinking and dunking, but he's not holding onto the ball. He's right. Getting the ball at like about average time. He doesn't really
take sacks. He didn't take sacks in college either. He'll just throw a missile check down for a 1 yard gain. But I mean, much better than taking a sack.
Yeah, but what I'm trying to say is those sack numbers, like, they aren't inflated by him just dumping the ball off in 2 seconds every time. Like, he's, they're actually giving him time back there to throw the ball 3 yards in the air. It's kind of cool to see.
All right, now we're going to the other side of the ball. When the Chargers have the ball, this one, strength on strength. We got Herbert just chucking the ball. This is the lowest designed run rate Greg Roman has ever had when he's coordinated offense in the NFL. Like, this is the most he's ever passed, the most pass heavy he's ever been. I have a whole bunch of stats for this one, or not a whole bunch, but one that I think is really interesting. I would say last week, Daniel Jones and the Colts receivers were just hitting everything. It was unbelievable. Like, every guy had a catch. Michael Pittman had a close catch against Patrick Surtain. Tyler Warren had a one-on-one win against Patrick Surtain. Alec Pierce is dunking on Riley Moss. And actually, Alec Pierce is getting paid after this offseason because he's adding to his game. A.D. Mitchell had a tough catch, I think, against Patrick Surtain as well. Surtain looked off a little bit for some reason. Hufanga is playing really well. Jahdae Barron, who has been kind of up and down so far 2 games, that's fine. But this is a potential big test for him. But what are you focusing on when the Chargers have the football, Charles?
I always thought that last week was pretty alarming for the Chargers offense, because they kind of fell into the same thing last year where you're not really getting the most out of a lot of drives. They're still like the bottom. They're doing a little better this year in terms of like percent of drives without a first down, but they're still hovering around like 40%. Which is, you got Justin Herbert, your quarterback. You shouldn't be wasting this many drives, but for him, like, he's been awesome again. Like, I don't know if they'll win enough games for him to be the MVP, but I don't know if there is a player. Maybe this is overstated, but it feels like I don't know if there's a player that's more essential to their offensive success right now than Justin Herbert. I mean, the Chargers, we know they want to run the ball. We know they're going to try to run the ball. 26 in EPA per rush. But they're second in success rate on offensive dropbacks, second in EPA per dropback. I mean, he's having an incredible season. Second in net yards per passing attempt. They're 5th and 3rd in long conversion. So he's doing the thing again where he's pulling them on their back, and they've gotten some better like contributions from guys like, especially like Quentin Johnston. He's looked like a totally different player this season. I mean, being able to catch the ball is kind of a difference changer or a game changer when you're a wide receiver, and he looks like at least like a startable player now. But I still think they just kind of smash their heads into the wall a little bit too much, and they don't quite get enough that they should, with considering they have Justin Herbert as the quarterback. They're 25th in terms of red zone drives resulting in a touchdown. Like, you're Jim Harbaugh and Greg Roman, don't you? Like, you guys should be able to figure this out a little bit more, but it feels like they're a little bit too set in their ways trying to run the ball. And it's funny because, like, American Hampton, he looks good. Like, I think he looks just as good as advertised, but it's still some of the same problems that we were talking about pre-draft. Like, I don't know if they have the ecosystem to actually fulfill him to be like a really productive player in year one. And they're just not efficient yet unless Justin Herbert is doing the Atlas thing and carrying the whole world on his back.
Which he has so far. No, it's very fair. It's I went into it with I talked about this game, the Monday night game with Matt on Tuesday, and I was saying all this good stuff. I'm like, oh yeah, they're doing all this cool stuff, and Herbert's chucking it. And I was like, Greg Roman just can't help it, just rear his ugly head. Just the goal line sequence, we're just getting stuff, and I was like, you guys should spread it out to run. God. And then I looked, they only have one successful run out of 11 personnel so far this year. So that was one theory, but I was like, hey, try that one, I think. No, and then the 4th and 1 call, yeah, it wasn't on Tuesday. I get into it in detail. I went back. We were already on to the next section. I went back to complain about something with Greg Roman. I will say, so going with the Broncos, and this will kind of leave my point with the Chargers. Broncos, which I will say I agree with you. It was like last week. They felt like a good defense, but they didn't feel, I don't know. There was a little venom missing last week. I like, that's the only way I could put it. Dre Greenlaw was out. Maybe he's the venom. But a lot more dime, which might be related to Greenlaw as well. This year, they're getting 6 DBs out there, almost double what they were doing a couple of years ago. It's 12% right now. And I think that's interesting because the Chargers are just chucking it to the receivers. They're getting the 3, Ladd McConkey, Keenan Allen, and Quentin Johnson, like you mentioned, onto the field as much as possible. So I think in the weirdest way, a Broncos defense, Chargers offense is going to be almost finessey, in a way, as far as like, that's what I think the battle is going to be. It's going to be in the air. It's going to be the battle of the Pacific. So I looked this up and I just can't, I was like, this number seems really high. Justin Herbert has targeted his receivers 82% of the time so far this week, through 2 weeks this year. Like, that number just seems really high. I have no historical context. So I looked it up. True Media. I went back to 2002 when the NFL expanded to 32 teams. The record for receiver target rate is Derek Anderson in 2010 with the Cardinals. Do not remember that year, by the way. Do not remember Derek Anderson with the Cardinals. Derek Anderson was my counselor at the Manning Academy back in the day. Him and Ryan Fitzpatrick, which I still think is so funny. But the record is 77%. So he's targeting receivers at a historical clip so far, which I justifiably so. Like, those are the 3 best pass catchers going against a team that plays a lot of dime. And they're also 6th best in success rate against receiver targets this year. So I think that's going to be a fun little battle, fun little matchup between these guys, even though there's some cool stuff happening up front as well. But big test for both sides and a wide open AFC West. It feels like, especially with the Chiefs reeling right now. Chiefs are in dead last in the AFC West right now. We got the Chargers are 2.5 point favorites at home. What's your final prediction for this game?
I think I think the Chargers should get it done because Herbert's just on another planet right now. And to the Chargers' credit, I will give them this. I think they kind of learned one thing they might learn from last year is just a little bit too run heavy on first downs, especially like earlier in the year. They were kind of forced to throw in more in the back half of the year once like the big boy offense showed up and started actually scoring points on them. But they're like 11th in first down pass rate this year, which is a big improvement from last year. So at least they're giving Herbert more chances to, get ahead of the rest of some of the stuff around him and not get stuck into so many third downs. But if he's going to keep playing like this, I mean, they can go pretty far during the regular season, I think.
Yeah, it's a good test for the Chargers O-line. It's like, all right, do you guys actually have the hosses to do this, to chuck it this left and right and to run the ball well enough? They weren't able to against the Chiefs. Chiefs have a good run defense. I mean, I think that's kind of proven. Chris Jones is still unblockable in the run game. I'm also going Chargers. The spread might move to -3. I'm not sure if they cover or not because I think this is going to be just such a close battle and everything. But I think that the Chargers defense I trust a little bit more than the Broncos offense, a little bit, which is so weird to say about a Sean Payton coached offense. And I think the other thing could be at the very least a stalemate, and you got Justin Herbert. So I think it's going to come down to the trenches on the Chargers side, and on the other side, it's going to come down to the passing game, which is going to be very, very fun. I think on both sides, a lot of proving ground at AFC West in this battle. Going on now to our last game of Lost in the Sauce. This is the Monday Night Football. The Ravens hosting the Lions. Ravens are 5-point favorites. Came off a interesting win against the Browns. And while the Lions dropped a 50 fillet on the Bears, Caleb Williams' fault. But
that's right.
This game,
he's a loser.
We'll start with when the Lions have the ball. Lions coming off a great performance, now going back on the road against a Ravens defense that I still think is good, but I have mixed feelings on. I have mixed feelings on through 2 weeks. So what do you focus on this side of the ball?
Man, it's kind of interesting because I think that it's kind of weird when I think both units this season have had some extreme outlier performances in 2 weeks, where you have the Lions offense just absolutely, they were basically playing on air in the second half against the Bears. And honestly, really for most of that game, the Bears defense just absolutely didn't show up. And then we all watched painfully Baltimore's another fourth quarter collapse from Baltimore against Buffalo, where the defense couldn't really do much of anything towards the end of the game. But we've seen this unit be good. We've seen this unit be good last year, and it seemed like they had figured some stuff out as far as schematically what they want to do with Kyle Hamilton and Roquan Smith. You had like guys in the secondary like Nate Wiggins showing up, but that week one performance wasn't shaky, or was pretty shaky. And I understand, like Josh Allen, Josh Allen, Lamar, Mahomes, those are the three best guys in the league. But still, you want to see a defense play a little bit better than that. They did improve against Cleveland, but I still think there's some really worrisome stuff, especially in their run defense. Cleveland had a 57% success rate on the ground last week. They averaged 0.13 EPA per rush last week. It's like anytime you're getting positive EPA numbers over the course of a game for a rushing attack, that means you've done something really, really well. Quishon Judkins has some good runs. Jerome Ford has some nice runs. And it just kind of seemed like they weren't quite as sound as they needed to be. And that's going to be a tough test for a Lions offense that I don't know if they're like coordinated as well as they were with Ben Johnson. We'll this is going to be another good test this week for John Morton, but they still got a ton of talent, man. I mean, they can really kind of get things cooking in a hurry and start scoring points in bunches when things are clicking for them. And if Baltimore's run defense is still going to be leaky, this could be a little bit of a shootout. I think that they might have maybe a better chance than the last time they went to Baltimore a couple years ago and got absolutely trounced at the early start of the season. Yeah,
that was like the Mike McDonald I'm a head coach game. Yeah, that was it right there. Seahawks defense is cooking too. So no, I'm with you. I actually do think the Lions actually match up decently, because it's kind of a question mark I have about both teams, which is the interior trio for the Lions offensive line, which have played fine. Like, oh my God, so many teams would kill for this interior. Tate Ratledge is inconsistent right now, but the other two I think are fine, Christian Mahogany and Glasgow. While I think the Ravens defense, I think Roquan Smith has been kind of a weakness so far. And I do think that the guys in front of them have to keep them clean to be able to make plays, and they have to do some stuff and be disruptive. I know what Madubuike can be, especially as a pass rusher, but I'm talking about Mark Jones and just the other beef that they have in the middle. But going both sides, it's just kind of like that's the proving ground, or the what's the litmus test for that Lions offensive line or reworked offensive line, and then kind of the Ravens interior, kind of the spine. I trust the safeties, but kind of that front seven, I guess, against the run, because the Lions are going to test it, especially if they have a good game script. So it's really going to come down to Roquan Smith. I mean, that feels weird to say, but he's got to do some work, and the Lions are going to do some play action stuff. So he's got to probably be up and down, up and back, up and back. That's all the Lions did last week. I mean, not all, but everything worked last week, to be honest. But they were doing all that play action stuff, all those in breakers, all those over routes. And so that's attacking the intermediate parts of the defense. So those safeties and the linebackers for the Ravens, they got to be on their games for this to kind of work. Run or pass. The other side, I'm with you though. I think the Lions will get their points. The Ravens defense, I can't figure out either of these units. The Lions offense, I feel a little bit better about, actually. It's weird though. Other side of the ball, Ravens offense, Lions defense, Lamar Jackson, and another high scoring unit going against a Lions defense that I have a lot of questions about. Not so much personnel, but just the execution of the personnel. How are you feeling about this side of the ball?
Yeah, I think that's fair to say. both these units are kind of in a weird spot. I wrote about the Ravens offense this week for a Forbes column you can check out on yahoosports.com. They've had a weird split. Like look, it's not this extreme what I'm about to say, but it kind of reminded me last year of where the Falcons were, when they had like high success rate numbers but low EPA numbers as the Kirk Cousins thing got worse. But the Ravens are the inverse this year, where they've got super high EPA numbers, super high yards per play numbers, but the down consistency has been a little bit shaky. And honestly, man, dude, the Browns defense gave it to them in the run game last week. Like, they got punched in the damn mouth. They had a 29.4% success rate. Derrick Henry had 11 carries for 23 yards. This is kind of one of those games where you're like, "Whoo! Thank God we got Lamar Jackson," because it's fun to get enamored with like the running, because it's just the purest way to play football, and those two guys are incredible when they have the ball in their hands. But Lamar is absolutely one of the best throwers in the league, and him being able to put together a very efficient day through the air, 0.28 EPA per drop back, in a game where they couldn't run the ball, I think is encouraging. And it's not like, the reason why we're down on the Browns isn't really because of their defense, because everything that's gone on the offensive side of the ball. So they're still capable of putting up good performances, but you still want to see a Baltimore offense, I guess, like just be a little more sound up front, and honestly just finish some blocks better and be better at moving people out the way, so you can give space for Derrick Henry to get those runways against some of the tougher defenses. So I kind of get worried maybe a little bit about like how after that game, how they fare against some of the bigger guys on Detroit's defensive line. But also, like you said, I think Todd Monken over where Kelvin Shepherd is right here, 2 games into his DC career, that feels like a pretty severe advantage for Baltimore going to this game. So I think that Baltimore is still going to score a whole bunch of points. And even though I say these concerns about Baltimore's offense and how they've been inconsistent, this is still only 2 weeks into the season, and I would just be surprised if Derrick Henry gets stomped out that bad again, and they can't run the ball. But either way, as long as you got Lamar Jackson and Monken flowing it well together, they're going to put up a bunch of points on the lines.
Yeah, how you ended it with about Monken versus Shepard, that's where it's I feel like the biggest advantages for the Ravens right now. Yeah. Do you want to do a little take poker for that Ravens offensive line take you had last year? You want to do a little bring that one back? Hey, let's open that handbag up. What's so bad? You hurry up the turn.
Those Ravens fans were on my ass for a good portion of the season. Bro, I love Baltimore, man.
I love Lamar,
but
I love Derrick Henry.
I love Lamar. Dude, that is my second favorite team. The first team I ever fell in love with was the 2000 Baltimore Ravens, and then Michael Vick was drafted a year later, and the whole world changed for me. So it was funny just to deal with that stuff, but. Hey, it's looking a little leaky. It's weird though, because you had the performance against Buffalo where, oh my God, they couldn't get a hand on anyone. And then last week they really struggled. So, probably somewhere in the middle, but I think we can all agree not to say anything hateful. They should invest some serious upgrades into the offensive line this offseason. That's all I'm going to say.
I'm calling that
a very hot take. I know.
So we'll call it right there. No, I was curious about that because that's what I'm seeing too, and it's one of those where it's like, oh, is that just the Browns D line? Yada yada. Myles Garrett, Mason Graham. So no, I totally agree. I kind of keep mentioning it because I feel like I'm so all over the place with the Lions. Because it's just I feel like they are so all over the place, both sides of the ball. But the defense, it's just, and I keep bringing this up, and it's one of those where I just don't want to open it up on Twitter and just have a highlight reel of all the botches I see, and then open it up to litigation from former players and stuff when they critique and they say, how do you know that? And it's well, I can kind of figure this out. But they have a lot of botches and stuff that I don't think is very that hard. It's certain man coverages. They don't know who to pass off. It's usually when they're blitzing is when you see the botches, and they blitz a decent amount. So that's where I just can kind of see how stuff gets passed off, the help that they give each other, if they go man coverage, where the help's coming from, the leverage that they kind of lose on guys. I thought Caleb Williams was able to hit a bunch of outbreakers, especially against Kirby Joseph. And I just was curious this week, because I thought Caleb and the Bears also overall, I thought the Bears offense is so close to popping. They're really close, and especially with Caleb, just I can't yell at DeAndre Swift one more time. I'm like the fifth straight show, but he was able to hit some play action stuff, especially over the middle. So I was kind of like looking at it, and who throws probably the best dig in the NFL? Lamar Jackson, who throws really good stuff over the middle of the field. Lamar Jackson. As a thrower, Lamar and Matthew Stafford have more alike than I think people realize. And I looked it up. So Lamar on in-breaking routes, he has the 7th most attempts on in-breaking routes this year. He's 7th in EPA per dropback on those. Since 2023, on routes labeled as crossing routes. So this is crossers or overs, which are kind of I wish I can go back in time and teach route labeling to the people that did this 15 years ago, but we're too far into it. He throws at the 6th highest rate among starting quarterbacks since 2023. All right, since the start of last year, I know this wasn't Shepard, but there's a lot of bones of Shepard, and I think this is a worse version of last year's defense. The Lions have allowed the most explosive passes to routes labeled as in routes and crossing routes. 29th highest explosive pass rate allowed on those. So what I'm saying is, get ready for some in-breakers, get ready for some digs, some overs, some stuff happening over the middle. A botch might lead to a big play. So I think they're just going to have those. While up front might be just a real big fist fight, because I do think the Lions have a lot of talent up front. I just do think that stuff over the middle, they're pretty weak at right now, along when they get into man coverage. And if you want to play man coverage, you're going against freaking Lamar. That's a death wish to play man against Lamar Jackson and let him run. But that's the thing. I don't know if Shepard kind of, I'll be curious. Like, does he know that? These guys have to learn the hard way. And I think when they blitz, which is another way people have gone after Lamar, even though he was awesome against it last year, that their blitz lanes are very straight. Like, there's no twisting and loopers and everything. And I was just curious if that would be good or bad against Lamar, because then you don't lose him, but also it just makes it easier to block as well. So it's like I just have a lot of questions with this Lions defense. The Lions offense, I can put them in a good performance. So this is a tough test for them, even if it's the Ravens haven't been all the way perfect. Fun game. Very fun game. A lot of good players. Always going to be fun to watch. And it's Monday night, so I don't have to, I can actually focus on it a little bit, which would be great. All right, so Ravens, 5-point favorites at home. What is your prediction for this game, Charles?
Ravens win and cover. Think this could be an absolutely sicko Lamar Jackson game.
Okay, I'm going Ravens win. I'm definitely going Ravens win. I think the Lions cover. I think, but not like it might be a backdoor or anything like that. But I think this is going to be points bonanza. I think we might have like a 31-34 game, something like that. I think this is going to be a fun one. We are going to take our final break, and we're going to come back panning for some prospects, which I can't wait to do, and also throw up some Hail Marys to cap off the show. See you guys in a sec. All right, we are back. It's time to pan for some prospects. All right, paying for prospects is usually college football oriented, where there's a prospect for maybe next year's draft class that we want to talk about. But I use this as an excuse because I want to talk about some rookies. And that counts. They were just prospects a few months ago. We talked about one of these guys in particular about 500 times, or at least I did. Actually, you did too. We were kind of on the brigade together with this guy. But I wanted to talk about real quick before I kick it over to you, Chuck, the 49ers rookies balling out right now. Not only is Mykel Williams playing phenomenal football, especially against the run, but other guys of their draft class. Alfred Collins had a nice game, their second rounder against the Saints. Upton Stout, their little sawed-off slot guy. He's a lot of fun. He's like built like Taz the wrestler, the human suplex machine. And then they hit on it looks like they hit on a 7th round left guard. Connor Colby from Iowa looked like, I had to check. I was like, who is this guy a couple times? And he actually looked like a solid starter, which if these guys, it's 2 games in, a lot of stuff changes. But this is kind of makes the 49ers, gives them a little juice that they needed. Like, they needed a draft class like this with contributors. Another guy was their second-year player, Kalia Davis. He isn't a rookie, but day 3 guy, year 2 guy, he's playing really well on the interior. But I wanted to share this real quick because everybody loves on-off splits, especially me. Mykel Williams on-off splits against the run. I get it. All the caveats, all the noise and all that. It's only 2 games, but you can kind of feel this in film. And I had to go check this out. Designed runs. Okay. Michael Williams on the field, 31 design runs they faced. When he's off the field, the 49ers have faced 21 design runs. So, okay, we're getting up there in sample size. Rushing success rate allowed, 25.8% when Michael Williams is on the field. That is what the Bears' run game was against the Vikings in week 1, essentially. Rushing success rate on those 21 runs when he's not on the field, 66.7%. That means 14 of 21 runs have been a good play for the offense when he is not on the field. That kind of feels exactly how the eye test feels as well. Agreed. And I mean, it's just stat after stat. He's a hammer right big, now. Long, push the pocket. Don't block him with tight ends. You can't do it already. He's already shown. He one-handed a Saints tight end, lifted him up, moved him aside, and then made the tackle for a TFL on Alvin Kamara last week. They haven't allowed an explosive run when Michael Williams has been on the field for those 31 runs. They've allowed 2 when he's not been on the field. It's just number after number. And yes, of course, those will kind of squeeze as the season goes along. Mm-hmm. But man, he's shown up and been exactly what I thought. A plus run defender day one and a developing pass rush game, as I'll put it nicely.
Yeah, yes, agree. But this like the start that he's had on the run defense side is why we were like, he's a better fit for an NFL defense than he is Kirby Smart's defense.
Yes.
You know, and look, Kirby Smart's put a bunch of defenders in the NFL. You know, the hit rate, it's been, kind of hit or miss, but like he is like as classic a 4-3 defensive end body that I think you can find like in the draft today. So, the pass rush stuff, that was always going to be a work in progress. Because even for him at Georgia, I think when you start rushing a lot from like 4-eye, you don't really learn all that much because you're not getting that much pressure. No, you're rushing the inside shoulder. That's not the angle.
It's like Will Anderson, remember? Right. Like Will Anderson's freaking having a knife inside all the time, and now he's teeing off on guys.
Yeah, but Will Anderson, he got 10 sacks from 4-eye. Bill a little different.
It's unbelievable.
Bill a little different.
It was unbelievable. He's one of my favorite prospects ever.
Yes, but I still think there's a chance Michael still turns out to be like a quality pass rusher in the NFL. But the fact that he's this good defending the run, like doing it from spots that he wasn't doing it at Georgia as often as he is in the NFL, I think is so promising for what like he could end up being in the NFL. If they can just find like one more like third pass rusher to kind of fill out that defensive end group, like they will really be cooking, man.
Yeah, they're trying to get Huff going, but he's kind of been okay. Yeah, I know. And what's cool is Williams can kick inside too. So it's exactly how I envisioned it. Like that's why that's why I couldn't wait to talk about it. That's why I brought Panning for Prospects back, because I really want to somehow shoehorn this game in. I mean, it's 2-0 versus 2-0 in the NFC West too, but also to avoid maybe talking for the Cardinals on one show. And I wanted to focus on some good stuff happening with the 49ers. Brock Purdy might play. There's some, might be gamesmanship. Yeah, I know. Kyle Shanahan came out yesterday. Right when I was writing my article, I noticed that. So he might play. I think the offense is always going to find some answers. So it's pretty cool to see them improving against a run, especially Mike Hall kind of doing that. All right, Charles, your turn for Panning for Prospects. What you got?
Oh man, the hashtag Beck-lievers are winning right now. We're up big time. Because the
Carson Beck,
discourse about football.
Dolphins quarterback, Miami Hurricanes quarterback, former Georgia
maybe the
quarterback.
Dolphins quarterback in the future. Who knows?
Yeah, maybe the Dolphins quarterback. I know, right? Seriously, it's actually a decent offense fit for Shanahan guys. Yeah, actually. So yeah, keep going.
Like the discourse, and I think you can tell by like the Caleb Williams discussions this week when the Bears defense gave up 9 yards per play when our first down was only 10. That we've got a little bit too dialed in on just talking about quarterbacks. And I thought that Carson Beck season last year at Georgia was a big example of that, where, like, dude, you're watching these games. I understand if you're not a Georgia Bulldog fan, probably not watching every Georgia game. And you can kind of just get wrapped up in whatever you see on social media. But like, he wasn't nearly as bad as people had like written him out to be last year. And was honestly the reason why they won a good chunk of games in the back half of the season and ultimately dragged into the playoffs before he got hurt. And they had to put Gunnar Stockton in the game in the second half. But, they had, you were talking about, we've all said, one of the worst drops that like any like PFF or any service like that has charted last year in terms of wide receivers. They couldn't run the ball. They couldn't pass protect. And even then, like, there's still times where he's giving you chances to kind of have productive offenses and get the ball down the field. I really think the only thing we learned about Carson Beck last year is that he's not like a top 5 pick or maybe even like a top 20 pick, which is ultimately fine. That can still get you pretty far in college football. But it was kind of wild to see like how many people were talking about preseason first-team All-America quarterback, like Heisman contender coming to the season last year, as someone who's just like some scrub and laughing at Miami for signing this guy. And then, because I thought the whole point was if you can get him back into a good ecosystem, the year before in 2023, after that season, we were talking about him as like a top 15 pick, you know? So like that, it's not totally dissipated. Like maybe that era of Carson Beck's life is over, like him being viewed in that capacity. But like at this rate, I would be pretty stunned if he didn't end up as a top 100 pick if he keeps performing this way. Because it's not just like you're putting up better production. Like some of the throws down the field he's making are absolutely incredible, especially in that game they played last week. So I'm happy for him because I thought that the heat got turned up way too high on him, but he was one of the big reasons why they even made the playoff in the first place. Because people forget that Georgia defense gave up 31 points to goddamn Mississippi State last year, and Carson had to drag them across the finish line. He had to drag them across the finish line against Georgia Tech and Tennessee. But you watch him throw a couple of interceptions on Twitter, and he's the worst quarterback you've ever seen. It's ridiculous, man.
Right.
It's ridiculous.
And the Georgia offensive line was never going in the right direction ever.
No, never.
One of the most, and it's the same old line coach this year, and it looks exactly the same. Yeah, they had 3 guys drafted, and I would say one of them's for sure playing well in New England, and the other one in Detroit's playing like starter quality. And so, like those guys are also figured it out pretty quickly when they got out of Georgia, got out of Athens. There's something where people can't handle just okay. Netflix took away their rating system and just made it thumbs up, thumbs down because they realized that's all people rate things is 5 or 0s or 5 or 1s. Like people can't handle 3s. They just can't handle the middle ground when a guy is, and that's you just mentioned Caleb. That was Caleb's week 1. You look back at it and you're like, oh, this was like a fine starting game. Like, and people acted like it was the worst thing they've ever seen. I was like, did you watch the other side of the ball? In those games? That's the worst thing I've ever seen. There's a movie Waterworld that was like that, where it was the most expensive movie ever, and it was supposed to be this big failure, all this stuff, and it was just okay. And I think people just didn't know how to handle that either. It wasn't like this big bomb. It's like just fine, Mad Max on water. The other thing in that game too, just before I kind of move on, was the unless you want to keep ranting, because that was pretty fun for me to listen to. Because I agree. I think Carson Beck, he looks like a day 2. He looks like a round 3 guy right now. I mean, just through the 2 games. I haven't watched them on film. I'll admit that, but just off 2 TV copies I've watched, or 2 games on TV I watched. Yeah, he looks just how I figured out he looked last year, which was until the last year kind of happened.
If Tyler Shuck can go top 40, anything can happen at this point. I feel like because because that was the profile of someone who. It never works. Even if you like to tape like
or
the
Matt
Corral,
went round 3. Right. I mean, there's a lot of them. There's a
Bryce
lot of
Young went first
guys.
overall. I mean,
wasn't who'd the Vikings draft that Mike Zimmer hated from A&M?
Sean Mannion. Kellen Mond.
Yeah,
Kellen Mond.
He went round 3.
Him. Yeah,
hated him. Why don't you give him what did they say? Why don't you give him a shot? He said, because I watch him practice every day.
Watch him practice every day. I do think people forget that sometimes when they're like, why aren't my favorite players in the game? It's like, there's 6 days in between the last time you saw them.
Why is this 5-star not playing
every day?
I bet you they want him on the field. So there's probably a reason why. I know. There's some other fun matchups in that game. Austin Barber's a tackle for Florida. That's good. He's going against Ruben Bain, edge player for Miami, who I think he was 16th on my preseason board. I compared him to Brandon Graham.
That's a good one. I also think this is going to be the season debut for Florida defensive lineman Caleb Banks, who's a pretty highly rated guy coming into the year.
The
so
D-line's got a couple guys. You got Tyreek Sapp.
That'd be fun.
Yeah, no. Oh, and then the tackle for Miami, Francis. I think he's a guard, but he's another good.
Yes.
Francis Magalaga. That's terrible. That's not what it was last name.
Yeah, well, I was about to say we got to learn that last name. I know exactly who you're talking about.
I know, but he's like a first-round prospect. He's a good prospect. I'm blanking on his name right now. Sorry.
Yeah.
All right, real quick, I wanted to squeeze this one in because I haven't mentioned him on Football 301. I don't think, other maybe it's something I said under my breath or something like that. Yeah. This was my QB1 in the non-Arch Manning category, but so that's kind of looks like it's a year away anyway. So this is my QB1 from May going into the season. And that's Indiana quarterback Fernando Mendoza, who had some, I would say, solid performances against kind of the lesser, I almost said something bad there, some lesser colleges like Old Dominion and everything. They played Indiana State last week. He has 6 total touchdowns. He only throws 1 incompletion in the first half. And I was like, okay, it's nice to see some routes on air and what you can do when you kind of just have your way. Big, he's built a lot like Matt Ryan. And that's the guy that comes to mind for me. Matt had more of a whippy throwing motion. But as far as athleticism, size, willingness to throw over the middle, and I would even say arm strength, very comparable to me. Others have compared him to Jared Goff, and he played at Cal last year. So I was like, I kind of wanted to do a different school, for that and everything. Matt obviously is the high end comparison for that, but just a solid scrambler and athlete, can whip the ball, understands kind of football. I think his football IQ is pretty good. He's tough as all get out, which is another comparison to Goff and Ryan. Can take hard coaching as well. And I just really like him. He's my QB1. He's had some nice performances so far. Still, the couple things where, he's going to try some stuff. He'll get caught trying some stuff. And I do think that there's times where last year he was taking a lot of sacks. I attributed that mostly to the offensive line, the offensive system at Cal. But this year, not as a lot of sacks, but they haven't played anybody yet. So this week, playing Illinois, going to be an awesome game, ranked versus ranked. And then I think the next 2 weeks, they play Iowa and then Oregon. So some good tests. Yeah. Coming up for Mendoza that can really kind of launch him. And, people like him. Dane Brugler, who I worked with at The Athletic, had him as 20th, I think, on his big board as well. I really trust Dane. So it wasn't me just getting ahead of myself, which I have been known to do. Hello, Riley Leonard. But no, it's good to see. So no, but it's Mendoza has had some nice performances. I think this is going to be a really, really fun test of going against my old head coach, Brett Bielema, and my old teammate, Aaron Henry. He's the defense coordinator.
Oh, hell yeah.
Hank might be a head coach soon.
Oh,
Aaron's awesome.
Yeah.
I actually got to introduce you to Aaron. Yeah.
I was like,
he's awesome.
Yeah, it's funny. He's been the defensive coordinator I've been chasing for my CFB dynasty because he's got good perks.
I get it.
Game's got good perks. Yeah, but this will actually be the first time I've seen Mendoza play ever. Honestly,
okay.
The Cal games last year. I just so late.
Not worthy of watching.
It's on so late, man.
Other than Miami game, yeah.
Actually, no. That was the one game I did see the Miami game. I did watch that one. But other than that, I've only seen him play one time. And this year, man, dude, Kurt Signetti, he's out here talking crap about we scheduled all these soft guys in the summer. Like, okay, but don't really want to watch that. Why do college football teams in general, why do we got to start this thing where you play like Illinois State and Indiana State 3 games in a row to start the season? Come on. I know, but you can have one game. 3
or UCLA can host New Mexico and get absolutely blown out of the water at home.
Dude,
on Friday night.
Nico messed up.
I don't know if Nico had a lot of choices unless he wanted to drop down, maybe a conference or so.
Because look, I'll tell you what, after watching that Georgia-Tennessee game, Aguilar, his replacement, he ain't good either. So he could have stayed there and kept his job, man. That's crazy.
Competed. Yeah. I also, my last aside here, I mentioned Cal quarterbacks. Have you watched the freshman? The freshman Cal quarterback. Jaron.
Yes. That was about to say.
Want to know how much I like him?
Cal games this year. I have stayed up this year.
Okay,
he's so good.
So this guy, this is how good he is. Anyone that's listened to me on any show ever, I'm very bad with names. I looked up his name pronunciation because I think this guy he's the leader in the clubhouse to be the number 1 pick in 2028. True freshman from Hawaii at Cal, big, tall lefty, was going to go to Oregon or went to Oregon, I think transferred after like a week or something like that.
I remember the story. He committed to Cal and then went to he was about to commit to Oregon because they offered him back, right? And right before he was about to commit to Oregon, he was like, "This don't feel right. I felt at home at Cal, so I'm gonna go back to Cal," and stayed there. And now he is absolutely crushing it.
He saw Mendoza transferred, and he was like, "Yeah, I'm definitely going to Cal now."
I'm gonna start
he saw Dante Moore, and he was like, "Yeah, I'm definitely going to Cal now." Dante Moore, also another quarterback to keep an eye on at Oregon. He's looking really good too. But all right, Jaron Keave Sangapulu-Tele. Yes. Or, as I'll be calling him for the next 3 years, JKS. That's what I'm going to be going for the next 3 years. I'm sorry, Jared. No, but anybody want to watch some late night Cal, this dude can spin it. I was at the wedding in Minnesota last weekend, and they played, I think it was the wedding after party. It was a big blur when Cal and Minnesota were playing. And the father of the bride was like, why are we losing to Cal? I was like, oh, no, watch this quarterback. And then literally, as I said that, he just chucks one like 30 yards, just perfect ball. I was like, that's why you guys are listening right now. It's just that guy.
Because they got Hawaiian Big Ben, buddy. I don't know what to tell you.
They do. Whew. What's with all the Hawaiian lefties? Tua?
I don't know, but this dude, he's big,
Gabriel?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, he's all 6'3", 220. No, I'm enamored with him. He's so much fun. He just chucks that thing. So, yeah, make sure you check out some Cal as well. Yeah, prospects of pros. That was fun.
That's right.
It's time for some Hail Marys. Hail Marys are where we throw up a prayer of a prediction and hope it lands. We are 0-2 so far this season. The Bengals beat the Jags, even though I like that one, and I thought you probably felt pretty good about that. The Vikings only rushed for 78 yards. I predicted they would go for double that, but that was also a quarterback / game script kind of thing. So yeah, but they were efficient. Jordan Mason's about to go off soon, I'm telling you guys. But Charles, what's your Hail Mary this week?
I think that the Giants will finish their game against the Chiefs with more yards than the Chiefs. I don't know how hot of a take that is. It feels, I mean, to me, it feels spicy because Russell Wilson's their quarterback. I know what they did last week, but I can't imagine that, hey, this is going to be an offense that's scoring 37 a game and 400 yards, and they look like Russ has hit the time machine back to 2011 for that game. I don't think it's going to be all like that, but like where I came down on this is who on the Chiefs is going to guard Malik Neighbors? Who do they have that can match up with that? And maybe Trey McDuffie from time to time, but he looks like he's hit a different gear in terms of like just putting the package together and
slot. They can't cover it.
Yeah. He is really special. But I think it's Neighbors. Like if he can get some chunk plays going, they could fulfill this Hail Mary prophecy. But also I think there's a chance that the Giants defense, I know they didn't have the best game last week, but I still think they match up well with a unit like where Kansas City is right now. And it's probably going to be a lot more Mahomes heroics to try and get that across the finish line. I think like when you look at Dallas and how they've been constructed, they're kind of like built to combat a defense like the Giants, where they can kind of go big on big up front. And then, you kind of take your chances with the skill talent on the outside where you go. But Kansas City, it's a lot on Mahomes, and I think they still win this game. But I do think that you could look back and say, hey, the Giants, they made this a little more competitive. I think they finished with more total yards than them.
I like that one. It would have been even spicier if you said more points.
I'm not brave enough to say Mahomes is going to start 0-3, man. I can't do that.
Yeah, that's a little too much for me, because I also think the Chiefs defense, they can maybe stop the run, slow them down a little bit. No, I like that one a lot. I can see the yards. I can see the passing yards. I can see some big plays happening, especially against the blitz. And I also just see, like you said, I think Abdul Carter is gonna have some moments against the some rush looks. I think they'll throw some funk up there. So, no, I like that one too. It's going to be a lot of Mahomes scrambling as well. That's what the Giants kind of struggle with. All right. My Hail Mary, I went for it here. This is actually related to your Giants a little bit because of what I saw last week. I have Caleb Williams will pass for over 300 yards against the Cowboys. And if you're curious, if you want to tell me here, it's plus 340 on BetMGM. I decided to look it up if you're into that kind of thing. I just think that, one, Cowboys pass defense can't cover anybody right now. I think two, there's a lot of, you got the Eberflus revenge going on here in this game. I also think that you got, the reverse revenge, Caleb revenge on Eberflus, I guess would be the best way to put it. Maybe Eberflus got a little something too. But no, I do think that Caleb is seeing the game well right now. I think they're kind of tailoring to what he is working. They're getting Roman Dunze going, and that looks really good. They're close to putting together a good performance. And I do think that they can block up the front well enough, especially with their interior guys against this Cowboys pass rush. So there's not like that glaring weakness where I was like, oh, this could derail it. And I just think Caleb's going to be able to chuck it. I think Eberflus defenses are pretty easy to find out the coverages for. They'll have some third down funky looks, but as far as base downs, when you're running play action stuff, you kind of know where the ball is going to go. You just have to execute, and that's what they dare you to do. Don't really think the Cowboys have those horses to kind of keep up with the pass catchers for the Bears. I know that's weird to say, but that's actually how I feel right now about that Bears offense. So Caleb Williams, 300 or more passing yards.
I like that. As soon as I saw this on the sheet, I was like, "Oh, Bears Cowboys at 425 is so toxic." Like the takes, late window Bears that. Cowboys. Oh my god!
I didn't even think
everyone's gonna be watching that game.
Yeah, hold on, real quick. I gotta look what the other games are. Okay, so you got Broncos-Chargers, Saints, Seahawks, which would be fine. That's not a take bowl. Broncos-Chargers isn't really take bowl.
In terms of sheer people watching it.
Cowboys, and then you got Cardinals-49ers. Yeah, you're not kidding. That's a take bowl. That's a take bowl right there. Yeah. All right. Well, it'll be fun. We'll be watching it. Check us out. So we're closing it out today. Charles and I will be back Sunday live right before Sunday Night Football, right after the day games. Those late afternoon games wrap up. Reacting to week 3, so come hang out. It's a ton of fun. We let it roll on those Sunday night shows, so it's a lot of fun. I'm Nate Tice. You can find me at Nate_Tice on social media. That is Charles McDonald. Where can they find you, buddy?
Find me on Blue Sky at 4 Verts, And I was on the right time this week for Monty Jones, so check that out. Got a back-to-back Football 301. We're taking over that podcast.
We are. Yeah. Hi, Bomani. How you doing, man? Hey, Bo. No, I know. He's definitely a friend of Yahoo, Bomani Jones, and we're a friend over there. So, no, that's funny. No, make sure you check that out. All those good guest spots that we have over here. Subscribe to us, follow us, rate us. Watch us on YouTube, on the Yahoo Sports YouTube channel. It's a lot of fun, a lot of great content there as well. Check out Matt's stuff, the Yahoo Fantasy Forecast as well. Thanks to Stone, Austin, and Ingrid behind the scenes for making us look and sound good. Thank you all for listening. See you guys Sunday night.